And I guess I had begun looking for, I don't know what, on the floor, I don't know, but I woke up and I had a flashlight that I had been looking for something, but it was shining right in his face.
Oh.
And I was like draped over the side of the pack and play for who knows how long. And it just was like, what am I doing? Like,
right.
Let's connect because this is not working.
Yeah. Rick definitely slept with Oliver close, like even like they would nap together because at the time he worked nights. So he would come in and he'd have to nap throughout the day when he was with Oliver after I went back to work. But I mean, they continued to take naps and stuff together until it got dangerous, and then he had to go into his crib and stuff. But
La Leche League has a book called Sweet Sleep. And they sort of kind of came out along the same timeline as the AAP began to recommend room sharing. Mm-hmm. And they have what they call the Safe Sleep 7. And it's sort of 7 pieces of your puzzle to ensure safe shared sleeping surfaces, let's say.
Sure,
and it's really important that you decide these things maybe in like 2 p.m. and not 2 a.m. You can't just like pull a baby in your bed when everybody's, groggy and desperate zombies, right? So we have to establish that we've created a safe environment while everybody is like alert and ready and prepared. And me and my partner agree that this is what we're going to do. And as long as we're practicing safe sleep, right, and everybody is healthy and we don't have any like medically fragile babies or, no preemies. And I will say breastfeeding is listed on that Safe Sleep 7 just because of the attunement that mom and baby have together in that kind of sleep rhythm. Yeah. It's not to say you can't share space if you're bottle feeding, but it is one of the recommended 7 like bullet points is breastfeeding.
I guess that makes sense though, because your biological timers are going off at the same time, because I definitely have woken up before.
Like right
before she cries.
Yeah, that's happened.
Isn't it incredible?
Yeah, it's happened to me too.
It's crazy. Like it is definitely something I thought people kind of just said, like, or it's like in the movies. Like mom wakes up and she's like, "Oh, let me get my robe," and as she walks down the hall, and she starts to cry when she gets to the door handle.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I know that's really dramatic, but I've seen that in movies before.
But it happens. It's not. Yes. Our bodies are really, really amazing. And if we just kind of tune into them and then tune into our babies, this rhythm is like kind of attainable, It doesn't have to be so scary.
Yeah. Well, so Angel was talking about going back to work. And one of the things I know that you guys are trying to do at Lactation Consultants of Atlanta is help people in the corporate world. So how do you do that? Because I don't have experience with that. I resigned from my job at the end of my maternity leave. But Angel went back to work, and so many moms have to go back to work. So what can you do to help with that?
We have a class that we're offering virtually right now because of COVID, and we actually have also just revised it because we have so many different pathways where before mom goes back to work, baby goes either to daycare or nanny comes, either way. But now we have moms that work at home that can tend to their babies because their schedule allows. We have moms that work at home that need help because their schedule does not allow, whatever it's meetings or a lot of video stuff or deadlines. Right. So then we have somebody, is the help partner, dad, mom, neighbor, or is the help a hired nanny? We have moms that are kind of, part-time where they can go in a couple days, but they're still distance working. So we kind of tried to revise our class so that we were touching on
Well,
everybody's different needs right now.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
I don't know, it seems like every time you turn around though, there's like a new thing that you have
Something
to,
else.
right, because it's,
Yeah.
it's ever changing.
Yeah.
But then we also offer a corporate lactation program where a lot of employers might not even know that they're not offering optimal support. Sure, she can go pump whatever she needs, but then where do I go? To my car, to a bathroom? Do you have a place for me? Are you going to allow me the proper time and the number of times that I need it? There's lots of pieces that go into it. Do you really have a space, right? So the Georgia law, up until just like last week even, stated instead of must or will, it was may require, so it's actually just been signed into law last week. There's a press release about it that sort of, the wording has been shifted now where it's like the employer will provide. So there's no room there's no wiggle room anymore with the verbiage of it. So the corporate program that we offer, if mom goes back to work and they act supportive, but you don't have the tools ready, we can come in and sort of provide the service. We'll help you get a space, help you kind of figure out the scheduling for moms, so that it's something that, if you don't know how to make this work for moms, let us help you figure out how to make it work. And it's also really important, I think, that mom goes in with a gentle but firm approach to this. It's not like, I might need some time to pump. It's like you draw more flies with honey than vinegar kind of analogy there, but you can be, soft and gentle with it, but still very firm in that I'm going to do this because I'm going to meet my baby's needs. And they kind of can't push back, really. We've really established that well in Georgia now. It's taken a while, but as long as they have the laws, and it's really important, again, you can't be a bully about it. I'm going to need this space and you're going to give it to me. That's not not going to go over well. But you don't have to budge. You can be really firm in what you need.
Yeah, I didn't ask. I just told them.
Right.
You also designed the space.
I did.
So,
and one of the biggest things that I think one of our biggest issues on site was people going into that room and locking it and eating their lunch or taking a phone call. And so the management, all male, decided to just lock the room, and you had to have permission from a manager to use it.
Didn't know that part.
But that happened at the very end. And then the other thing that was always interesting to me was people who didn't feel well would go in there. So you've got people who were potentially sick going and laying in the space that is supposed to be, you know what I mean? Like, and it didn't matter, at that point it was, it didn't matter who the concern was raised to. No one cared. And so, for me, that happened. I was kind of a jerk, not a jerk, I guess, but I firm, I think is the word you used. I was firm about people not using that room. Like it is a mother's room. And that does not mean you had a kid 25 years ago. That means
I'm a mom too, though.
Yeah, exactly. But we had people say that. And while it's supposed to be a wellness room, it's not supposed to be a wellness room. That's not true. And
why is the sick person
it was
going
really
there?
difficult to kind of navigate. Huh?
What was that?
I said, then why is the sick person going to the wellness room?
Yeah, really. And it was one of those things where it just wasn't, it was really difficult to manage. And the management's answer was, well, no one can use it then. Like that was pretty within reason. Obviously, like I said, they said you could go to your manager and request access to it. But
how easy is that to obtain?
Yeah. And now it's not, because all the managers that worked there were in meetings all day in other rooms.
And you're compromising my time now because I have to search and find a key from you.
Yep.
And how many times a day do I have to do that? And what happens if you're on your lunch break? There was a lot of issues, but it was very difficult to navigate having a space. And I was very lucky at the time that the room was finally finished. I got it finished like right before I went out for maternity leave. And when I came back, it was like ready to rock. I was the only one at that time that was breastfeeding. But by the time that I got back, there were like 4 women expecting. And by the time it was their turn, the room was a nightmare. Like I was kind of the lucky one because in the beginning we didn't have all of those issues. And then by the time I stopped was about the time they were coming in, and they just had all these other things coming up. It was really difficult.
Yeah. Well, I know. So like where I worked at a university. I worked at Emory, and where we worked was right next. So the one part of the building was food services, which is where I worked. And then the other part of the building was the women's center. And so if you were pumping, then there was nowhere to pump in our part of the building.
Yeah.
And the women's center was literally on the other side of the wall from where our offices were, where I worked at the time. But you had to go all the way downstairs through the cafeteria, up the hallway towards the hospital, to the other elevator to go upstairs to the women's center. And then you had to hope there was nobody in the lactation room when you needed to go.
Right.
Luckily, there were not a lot of moms who were pumping. But you know what? We had a lot of moms who worked on other parts of campus doing food service.
Right.
And they had babies. And they didn't have anywhere to pump, even though we were at a university, because their managers wouldn't let them take the time to go. Whereas in the building I was in, if I had gone back to work, my managers were all women, but so they would have they were like, yeah, when you come back, you bring it, you go, you do your thing. One of my managers was doing that. And then there was another lady who was doing that, and they were able to schedule it and go, but it wasn't available for everybody as much as the company.
I was going to say, it can be really hard for a woman who's not feeling as, confident in her breastfeeding shoes to go to a man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to pump my milk, right? And he's going to be like, you're going to what?
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I
think that was.
Yeah, I came back to all males.
And that was part of the problem on other parts of campus. And this is not the university. It's the company that we worked for as food service contractors.
Right.
We had to go to our management. And while some of the management was very supportive, other management wasn't, because it was time. We have to feed the kids. We have to, and I got to feed my kid too.
And I'm going to say, that's the other thing is it takes up a decent chunk of your day. And then what do you do if you work in an environment where they're like, well, I guess you have to wait till your lunch break.
Yep.
I'm not, especially when I was trying my hardest to get as much as I could.
Yeah.
I was in the mother's room for an hour. Just trying to go, between going, not always quite an hour, but for a really long time. Yeah. And if I have to do that several times a day, it gets, you feel like the conversations you're having to have are just really weird. And then sometimes I feel like, depending on the person, because I feel like some women could respond weirdly too, but I feel like and when you're talking to a male that is of any position, really, I don't think that matters, and they react very weird, that makes it even worse, because some men are like, okay, they don't, it's this weird, disgusting thing they don't want to hear about, and then you're like, okay, well, now I really don't want to have this conversation ever.
Right.
So my sister worked for a big parcel company that's from Atlanta. And when she had her first 2 babies, she had to go to her car.
Yeah.
She was a manager, but there was nowhere for her to go in this hugely corporate company. There was nowhere for her to go to pump.
Well, how long ago was that?
That was, okay, so I know it's different now, but that was 11 and 9 years ago.
Yeah,
Is
it's
how old the
come a
boys are.
long way.
Yeah.
But what if you don't even know the law? What if you don't even have the resources to think, or the tools or whatever, the support for somebody to say there's a law that protects you?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that they had changed it. Like what you just told us.
I didn't know that either.
I thought it was still just a.
I actually pulled it up right here. It used to say an employer may, but is not required to, provide reasonable unpaid break time to an employee who needs to pump breast milk for an infant child. An employer may, but is not obligated to, make reasonable efforts to provide a room or location in close proximity to work area other than a toilet stall. So thank goodness that was in there for employee to pump breast milk. But now it states, I think it doesn't, it just kind of everything is, all the may is now will, and it says shall provide a break, time, reasonable duration.
That's good.
It also says that the break time will be paid.
Good. That's
and that a
awesome.
private space be provided that is not a restroom.
Okay.
Let's see,
There's
close proximity to the employee's work area.
That's awesome.
there are probably so many women who don't know that, because
Yeah.
that's
It used
We
to
will link
also
that
not
below.
apply.
Huh?
It used to also not apply. No company that had less than 50 employees, that manager or owner could just say, sorry, doesn't apply to us. And you had no leg to stand on. So that's over now too.
That's over now too. Now it's anywhere that you work.
This says government agencies, public schools. It's like it lists everybody. So we really find that teachers, hospital workers, and restaurant and retail, you can't break away from what you're doing.
I think when we talked on the phone, I told you my sister-in-law, did we talk about my sister-in-law who's a nurse?
Yes.
She treats cancer patients. That's what their office does. But she, so she stopped at 1 year, but that was her goal and they were good with that. And that was their decision for their family and it was worked out fine. But she started out and she was just going to pump like twice a day because they were in the hospital. She would go to the room in the hospital with like the big pump, hospital grade pump. But then she just felt guilty leaving her post because she was a supervisor too.
Right.
So she just felt guilty leaving it and it doesn't matter. Like we talked about it and she had very supportive coworkers too. But even saying like, don't feel guilty about feeding your baby because that's like, nobody can fault you because you need to feed your baby. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But that's really hard when it's like,
Well, and I think it's one thing when it's your own guilt, and then it's another when people that you work with make you feel guilty about it. Because then, in the same token that you have to feed your baby, you also have to pay your baby's bills and provide a house, and you can't do that if you're worried or you're being
while you're fielding people's stupid comments.
Yeah, exactly.
On that note, is there anything else you want to tell us, any advice that you want to give to anybody? Like, how can we, the really big question is, how can we get help to moms who need it, but are either ashamed, afraid, or don't know how to ask for help?
Right. I think we kind of can just circle back to our previous conversation about kindness, right? And positivity. I think we really need to make a big culture shift here in how we approach it. It's just nobody wants to reach out if they fear. So normalizing all of it, normalizing the sleepless nights, normalizing the 8 times a day that you're getting pooped on, and right? It's all normal. And I think until we really can become one as a group of moms and support each other, the help is there. And it's not just, I know that it can be, some people might have, struggles that keep them from being able to obtain the resources. But there is a lot of free community peer-to-peer support. And WIC has breastfeeding counselors. I'm not sure what they're doing now with, quarantine life.
Yeah.
But LACTATION
They
League
have
isn't
breastfeeding.
meeting.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that WIC has.
Yeah,
breastfeeding
it's
counselors.
I think the title is breastfeeding peer counselors.
Okay.
I had no idea.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
awesome.
It's available, right?
Sure.
Your La Leche League is pretty prominent in the Atlanta area. They're not meeting in person right now, of course. There's a few that are doing, virtual meetings. And then the online presence, even though it's, it can be, it's not always pleasant, but even like without interacting in forums on social media, it can be kind of hard to, tease out what is valid and what is,
Yeah.
what we take and what we leave behind. But it's available. It's just people are scared because they're being shamed. Moms take it as a personal failure. They feel like their body has betrayed them.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can bring the community together and talk about supporting each other, right? And it never needs to be about failure and shame.
Right. And that's one of the things that we try to do here is we try to build a village, because that's what we need. That's what once upon a time
I know
there was, and that's like literally, that's one of the like most amazing things I think that I took away from our hypnobirthing class was she talked about villages where the women truly supported each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like they would go to people's houses when they were having a baby, or they would be there for support afterwards and during. And
they nursed each other's babies.
They did. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
Nursed each other's babies. I mean, like they.
Well, I think now it's like in addition to just, I guess we kind of touched on the shaming thing too, but I think women are just so judgy sometimes, and that just makes it, if you hear one person say it, then you automatically get in your head that everybody must feel that way, and that makes it hard too. Yeah, because it's like,
Yep, it's hard, but thank you so much for talking to us tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you don't get off this and go, I'm never talking to those bitches again.
No. I'm gonna give you a lot more subscribers, okay?
Hey, we're good with that. In fact, those of you watching, if you want to like this video, subscribe to our channel. That's right. That's right. Hit the bell icon. You know what to do. Follow us on social media at Mama Slimmy, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Leave comments about your own breastfeeding journey.
Please. We would love to know, like the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, everything. Because everybody has such a different experience, and that's what makes our village so awesome. Is there's so many different experiences from all of the women that we've talked to. Anybody who watches our videos, like I've been looking at analytics. There's people all over the world.
That's true. Which
is crazy to think about, but it's so awesome. And I'm sure they all have very different experiences. And, we want to know about it. We want to be here for you and support you and support each other through this amazing journey of motherhood, because it's cray-cray.
I was going to say / insanity.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Let's not paint these sunshine and rainbows, right?
No, it's hard. It's hard, and you want to scream sometimes, but it's okay.
And sometimes you do scream.
Sometimes you do.
Not always in a pillow either.
Nope. Sometimes it's in the shower or in your closet while stuffing your face with Oreos. Anyways, thank you for being with us. Thank you guys for watching.
Yep.
Make sure you check out, if you're in the state of Georgia, make sure you check that link out about mothers' rights in the workplace.
Yeah.
Definitely going to link that. We are also going to link Lactation Consultants of Atlanta. If you are in the Atlanta giant suburban area, everything,
Yeah.
metro, check them out. I've heard amazing things. Heather's been awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely check them out. And we look forward to working with you again.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been awesome. So we're going to say, see you next time, moms. Bye.